Well, welcome back, folks, to the channel for part two of painting a Norse dwarf. Um, for this bit, I'm going to do the base. I'm going to start off with model colour beige brown. I've already done a little bit of the base just by adding little bits of water just to make it move and flow a bit better. And you start going on the base, obviously, the top part first. Working your way around the feet, trying not to get it on the feet. Don't matter if you do, as long as you don't get it all over them. Just take your time. Make sure there's enough water in it to make it a bit more pliable, the paint, and it'll settle into the recesses of the sand that's already underneath the grey primer. So what we do, we just work his way around. I'm going to catch the shield a bit, but I thought I'll do it now before I do a lot of work on there. So yeah, then just paint the sides just to give it a layer of paint, and it also makes sure that you get up to the sides of the sand and don't leave any grey. So this way you'll also see grey that's not been covered. So just work your way along. You can be steady if you want to, and just make sure you keep a little bit of moisture or a little bit extra water to play around with your paint. I'll show you what happens in a bit if you have too much on a figure. So yeah, so I'll just do a little bit on this one. We've got some paint going. Oh, I've missed a few bits of black undercoat. Shocking. I'll show you how we deal with that in a bit. It's nothing major. How you deal with it, but I'll show you how I do it, and just makes it a complete learning curve video, or shows you the errors even I make after 40 years painting. So I first started painting when I was using enamels. I remember the first acrylic paints coming in by Games Workshop, or Citadel it was known at the time. So yeah, as you can see, I'm just working my way around like we did with the other. I could probably paint a bit faster because I've got what I call muscle memory or whatever, with using a brush for so long. So that's those bases done on those two. Right, what I shall do is I'll show you what happens. Hopefully they'll pick it up on the camera. So I'll just start off as I would normal. So just around that foot, just do the side. Right, and you see that's covering normal. I'm going to add way too much water, so it's virtually transparent, or heavily diluted, and then you'll see what happens. It goes on, but it starts to separate over the gravel area. Which in some respects is okay, but as you'll see shortly, it separates that much, it starts to go a funny greeny colour, and then you have to keep going or adding more paint to it, and it gets too thin, get a lot of grey come through. So that's alright if you're doing a wash over another colour. Sometimes you go a bit thinner to make a wash, but as you can see, it's not covering very well, which makes it annoying. See what I mean? It's just taking some work to make the paint go as far as I would normally do with another colour. But it's starting to separate with a green tinge. You may not get to see it, but there's a green tinge comes to it. So that means the colour pigment is separating too much. If you get that, go back to where your paint's a bit thicker, blend that in or mix that in till it gets a little bit thicker, and then go over top. But try and wait till that's dry. Otherwise, you're just creating a lot of work. It'll not settle right. As you can see, some of these are still quite wet. So hopefully it'll dry. But it's just dry alright on the back. So I say this is what happens when you put paint on that too thick. Again, that's probably had a bit too much water in there, so it was separating. So I usually try and wait till it's dry. That's not too bad on the back. Just get some of the thicker pigment or thicker paint and just rub into it and leave that for a while. So yeah, well, while we're waiting, I shall just do a bit more to the camera. The next colour I'll be using is Orange Ochre from Model Colour, which will be a dry brush. The next dry brush lighter will be Dark Sand from Model Colour. And then the final light highlight, I'll be using AK 3rd Generation Pale Sand, which is exactly the same colour as the Vallejo Model Colour Pale Sand. So if you haven't got that, just use Model Colour Pale Sand. So yeah, and as you can see, once you've done the dry brushing, that is the sort of colour that you get on there. I don't know whether you can tell, but dry brushed. And the edge, I go around with Vallejo Game Colour Earth. If you can't get hold of that, you easily can get hold of Games Workshop paints you want. That Steel Legion Drab. It's a little bit slightly different of shade, but not far off. And you can use that around the trims or however you do yours. So yeah, this has really gone green now. I don't know whether you can get to see it easy. There, look, it's looking a bit greeny. It's drying quicker than the others, but it's separating into a green colour. It's just too thin and there's hardly any pigment in it. So, but I mean, I can go over that. I mean, I've got to black that figure up yet, so it's not a major problem. I can sort that out as I'm working on stuff. So yeah, we're just waiting on these bases to dry. I usually do quite a few figures at a time while I'm doing this process. So I'll just do a bit more while we've got some on the palette. I mean, this is just an old plastic lid that I use until it's full, and then I'll chuck it. I've got a wet palette as well. I sometimes do this process using a wet palette. So yeah, I'm just doing the same thing on this Galloping Major figure for one of the provincials. I try and keep a lot of my base in the same colour because of the terrain tiles that I've got. So it matches in with those. You can do it your own way, however you do it. This is simply just a cleaned up figure, make sure the mould lines have gone. And I use PVA with a little bit of a brown paint or anything in it. Preferably a brown. It doesn't have to be the same brown as you use as the base coat for the basing that I'm doing now. as long as it's brown, because sometimes, you know, you can chip the basing off. Mine doesn't usually come off, but it can happen, and it'll leave brown underneath as opposed to white, grey, or the green plastic base. If I haven't, you know, undercoated it, you'll see grey under there. It's the way I undercoat. So you can do that. Yeah, just a bit brown in your PVA. It thickens the PVA up, and the sand will stick into it quite a lot better than it would do normal. You can see where you've missed with the PVA, because sometimes if you're using white over white filler, you know, you obviously sometimes don't notice where the PVA may have separated or something like that. So, yep. So let's shift these out of the way, because it's not really on topic of what we're doing. Yeah, this is still taking some drying. So, anyway, what I'll do is we'll let them dry. You can see the colours that I'm using. First colour, base brown, dry brush, orange ochre, a lighter dry brush with dark sand, and then pale sand for the fourth and final highlight. Well, third highlight, sorry. And then for the edge of the base, I use earth brown just to tidy the edge up. But if you can get all the Citadel paint easy, use Steel Legion drab. Okay then, folks, I'll get back for one more piece of the painting later on, and I shall have these bases done, and we'll do a quick recap on the bases as well when I start the next step. Okay then, folks, thank you very much, and I'll catch you all later.